Blackburn now for her questioning.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And Mr. Charles, I just want to say I am so delighted to see you here today. And I want to thank you for continuing to be a voice and to speak up. I think it's necessary, and I think you have an important message, and you're an important voice in this entire discussion. So thank you very much for taking the time to be here today. And you probably have found it's about as hot here as it is in Nashville. Welcome to this muggy weather. Mr. Garcia, I want to talk with you for just a moment, if I may. You were just talking about the impact of drugs and what you're seeing at the border. And of course, you're right there in Texas. And in Tennessee, I many times will say, because of the open border situation that we're facing right now and have for the last several months, every town is becoming a border town, in every state a border state. And certainly when I speak with law enforcement, they are living this out every day because of the impact of drugs on our city streets and in our communities. And as I talk to moms, one of the things that they have mentioned to me is fentanyl. And you were just referencing this. So, and the distress that they're seeing with fentanyl now being used in pills that are made to look like prescription pills, fentanyl that is laced into marijuana, fentanyl that is laced into cocaine. And this is deadly. It is absolutely deadly. And so if you would speak to the volume that you are seeing come across the border and how that compares to what we have seen in years earlier.
We are seeing, thank you, Senator Blackburn, we are seeing an increase in the amount of fentanyl coming across the border, not only in the South Texas area, but primarily in Arizona and Southern California. The fentanyl that is being produced in Mexico is being produced namely by the Sinaloa cartel as well as the...
and that is El Chapo's cartel?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
And the cartel Nueva Generación, the CNJ cartel that is also from the western part of the country. So therefore, in South Texas, although we are seeing an increase in fentanyl, we're not seeing it to the degree that our counterparts in Arizona and in southern Florida are.
And the majority of drugs that are on the street in the country come across the Arizona border, correct?
I'm sorry?
The majority of street drugs that are in the country come across the Arizona border, correct?
The majority of the street drugs that are in this country come across the entire southwest border.
Okay.
From Brownsville to San Diego, that's where it's coming across.
Okay.
Our fentanyl has increased, like I said, but for us, it is not our number one drug of concern. Our number one drug of concern right now is methamphetamine. But the problem that we face, as you stated earlier, Senator, is the fact that the fentanyl is being mixed with pretty much every other drug.
And the number of deaths, Mr. Wasserman, I would assume you all are tracking deaths that are related to fentanyl. Have you seen an uptick? What kind of uptick are you seeing?
I mean, the data from the government indicates that, and I believe Director LaBelle testified that 75% of the deaths in 2020 of the 90,000 or so had some opioid, and she may have even said fentanyl, if I had heard her correctly, involved in the deaths. So while I work in the District of Columbia, my knowledge is certainly more focused on that area. My understanding of the larger fentanyl problem is, yes, it's a serious epidemic.
Well, I will tell you that this is something that moms talk about a lot, and the dangers that are associated with this and the absolute fear. They look at how this has moved into middle school kids and the concerns that are there. Children that do not know what they're coming up against, and this is something that is just so deadly. So we thank you for the work that you're doing, Mr. Charles. We thank you for your voice in this discussion. I have some other questions that will be submitted for responses in writing, and I thank you all for taking your time to come before us today.